When you hear the trumpet or the cue.
Greetings, man of man from Morn Point to Negril. Welcome. This is the mailbox. It's October 16, 2024. I'm Kevin Bailey, my co-host, Courtney Morrison, having some challenges. I'm hoping that electricity will be back where he is. And so we're going to continue until then. We're looking at Men and Church Growth Part 2. Men and Church Growth Part 2. I trust you're all doing well, that you're dry. Showers of rain, showers of blessings, and we pray that everyone is doing well. We're all doing well. So, this is the program where we challenge, encourage, and empower men to become all that they were created to become. The mailbox is brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. The COVID-19 pandemic had a major impact on in-person church attendance. Churches of all sizes are struggling with getting members back in the church and growing their membership. Churches strive to grow because of the Great Commission. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to follow all that I commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. Matthew 28, 19 to 20. Churches are looking for new strategies to increase attendance and ultimately their influence. Post-pandemic church growth may be one of the major goals of some congregations. Churches want to reach more people, and reaching more people is an outcome of growth. So, growth doesn't happen by accident, but requires a vision, thought, and strategy. Successful churches are those that follow a God-given vision and mission, define the steps to get there, and implement their strategic plan. Church growth is not about competing with the ministry down the street, but more about developing the people God has planted in the local church to be used by God with their unique gifts. In his book, Purpose Driven Church, Rick Warren says, since the church is a living organism, it is natural for it to grow if it is healthy. If a church is not growing, it is dying. This can be a scary concept for a small local church. With growth comes many challenges, but the exciting thing is that with God, all things are possible, and he gives wisdom freely. So, this is the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men, and it's aired every Wednesday, unless it's a holiday, at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101 FM, the family station. And to all our listeners, thanks for making Love 101 your station of choice. We know you have choices, but here you are with us. We're talking about the topic Men and Church Growth Part 2. And we want to have this conversation. Our very special guest this evening is Reverend Dwight Fletcher of Transform Life Church. So we are going to have this conversation. If you are wondering how to get your church growing, what are some of the fundamentals? How do you deal with challenges? Is it possible? Then you can really check in. We ask you to listen up. I want to say a little bit about Reverend Dwight Fletcher. Joshua 1 verse 6 says, be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land. Reverend Dwight Fletcher is the founder and senior pastor of Transform Life Church, a vibrant and fast-growing non-denominational congregation in Kingston, Jamaica, which he founded in 2012 with his wife, Reverend Joan Fletcher, JP. Through him, TLC has grown into a ministry reaching thousands weekly with attendance of nearly 1,000. Pastor Dwight's first mission in life is to help persons experience a dynamic and transformative relationship with God. To that end, this visionary entrepreneur employs innovative and creative solutions to guide the church in sharing God's love with everyone, everywhere, igniting them to become world changers. Healing, deliverance, and miracles are a regular experience of these kingdom ambassadors led by Pastor Dwight and Pastor Joan. Pastor Dwight believes that the whole gospel is applicable to every area of life and has been involved in full-time church ministry for over 25 years, preaching, teaching, and equipping the body of Christ, both locally and internationally. He has implemented transformational leadership programs and sessions to identify, train, and strengthen leaders in both churches and corporations. His most recent program is the Accelerate Church Leaders Network, co-founded with Apostle R. Paul Earl, which trains scores of pastors across the nation and the region in church leadership and growth. They also coach groups of senior pastors in leadership and development. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2015, Pastor Dwight has been writing a weekly faith-based article in Jamaica's leading periodical, The Sunday Gleaner. In addition, he and Pastor Joan co-authored the Guide for New Believers, The First Steps in Your New Life. And he recently published God, Please Talk to Me, written in collaboration with Pastors Joan Fletcher, John Claude, and Marsha Davidson. Pastor Dwight is a member of the Lay Magistrates Association St. Andrew chapter and is also a certified John Maxwell coach. I believe Courtney, you are present.
I am present, but I think something is wrong with my camera.
Oh,
Good afternoon to you all. It is quite blurred. Technical issues, no electricity where I was, so I had to come to somewhere where I could at least get some Wi-Fi and electricity. But it's good to be on. Welcome, great. Pastor Dwight Fletcher. It's good to have you here with us. Thanks for
participating. It is my pleasure.
Very busy schedule.
Pastor Fletcher, welcome to the mailbox. We are privileged, honored to have you to share with us as our very special guest. I want to say important to the man them in his spare time. Pastor Dwight enjoys a good game of dominoes. And in case you think you can match him, right? He has been married to his lovely wife for over 30 years. And they have 3 beautiful children, 1 son and 2 daughters. So we are really privileged, honored to have Pastor Dwight with us this afternoon.
Hey, Kev, I have to challenge him at some dominoes, Didn't know he could play. I'm happy to find this out.
Anytime.
I'm happy to find this out, man. Especially who can drop the 6 first. It is good to give love. We are in church, and love is a great thing to give while you're playing dominoes.
Yes, sir.
No,
it's good to have you. And man, we want to hear from you. Remember, we're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Remember, you can leave your comments via WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. Also, we're on TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica.
Ladies, what want to say? Well, we want your participation. This is how you can participate. You can answer the question. Is the size of a congregation a major indicator of a growing church? Just your own perspective. You can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube. Ladies, remember, no calls or voice notes. Allow the man them to do that. But you can interact with us on social media as well. Right.
Yeah, big things. Kevin, yeah. I need to give a shout out today. Yesterday, I was tremendously blessed. Today, I collected the blessing. I want to give a big shout out to Lady Pauline Five and Lady Janice Tyson from the Fellowship Tabernacle head office. I was in a supermarket when I was greeted with the news, and I just started crying. I had to hide in a little corner. I couldn't make the people them see me. But ladies, to God be the glory. Thank you. Bless you. Big shout out to what I want to do. Trust me, love on a bad, or I should say love on a good. So it is a fantastic season.
Wow. Great. Happy for you, Courtney. So Pastor Fletcher, we would love you to join us as we do a ritual. After 3, we normally say Mandea, just a shout out to the Mandem. So we're gonna ask you to join us this time after 3. We simply say Mandea. All right. 1, 2, 3. Mandea. Yes.
It's just so awesome to do that every week.
Yeah.
Monday. But before we head into the main discussion, it's now time for us to get into the segment we call Draft. That's the direct response for the featured theme. We're preliminary opening the way to our main segment, and we want to ask a question. And I'm so glad that Pastor Dwight is here to answer this question and not us. Here's the question. Is the size of a congregation a major indicator of a growing church? Yeah or nay, Pastor Fletcher?
Boy, you have to consider the numbers, because the numbers can be big but in decline. The numbers can be big enough, but in decline. I was associated with a church once that for a long time the numbers were big, and I decided to literally look at the numbers week to week. And what I noticed is that although we had a big number, slowly there was attrition, but you don't see it in the beginning, because 10 people out of 1,000 missing is nothing, It's when it's sometimes gets chronic that you go, oh my goodness, this thing is happening, So numbers don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Guys don't tell the whole story.
Wow. I'm sure we're going to talk a little more in depth with so many things about church growth. But we're going to take our first break. This is Kevin Bailey, Courtney Morrison, our special guest, Pastor Dwight Fletcher. Fletcher is with us. We go to the studio, then we'll be right back after this.
Man.
The time is now. Beat the clock with the Yadon Road Heroes Day Flash Sale. Sign up for Yadon Road for only $5,300 plus GCT and get a Visa cash card loaded with $15,000 that you can use at the supermarket, gas station, and more. Plus, you can get a Samsung A05 for only $1,999 plus GCT when you sign up. This offer ends soon. Sign up for Yadon Road today. Visit discoverflow.co or a Flow store for more details. Conditions apply.
The Jamaica Gospel Music Industry presents a benefit gospel concert Friday, October 18, 7 p.m. at the New Testament Church of God, 65 Waltham Park Road. Come see an array of artists, including Gotti, Jai Kingston, Sebastian Braham, John Mark Wigan, Sister Pat, Audia Spencer Brown, Carrie Sale, Jim Radical, and many more. Admission, just walk with a contribution. Hearts and Hands for Stitchy, Friday, October 18, 7 p.m. 65 Waltham Park Road, New Testament Church of God.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrich is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrich Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
When they begin to frown, changes are easy within they.
When tape diapers are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Up. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin protected.
When they begin to frown, changes are easy within they.
NHT contributors, get ready to home it. Saturday, October 26th, Harmony Beach Park, Montego Bay. And Saturday, November 2, Emancipation Park. Come nail down your loans from NHT and other mortgage institutions. Get shovel ready with home builder advice. Hear from technical experts and smart energy providers. Enjoy Kiddies Village and live entertainment. That's NHT Home It Expo. Saturday, October 26th, Harmony Beach Park. And Saturday, November 2, Emancipation Park. Admission is free. Choose your life insurance coverage, apply, and pay online. Live the E-Life with Sagicor Life. The time by Sagicor Life is
10 minutes to the hour 6. It's now 5:50 p.m. Welcome back to the program. It's the Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. Sitting in is my co-host, Kevin Bailey, and our special guest, Pastor Dwight Fletcher of Transformed Life Church. rapidly growing church, quite interesting and quite informative if you attend. But we want to ask Pastor Dwight some questions here. I know a lot about his history, but those who are listening want to know more about you, Pastor Dwight. Tell us a bit about life growing up, what it was like, what are the challenges, and tell us how you moved from where you were then to where you are now.
So I grew up in Clarendon for most of my life. Went to Glenmuir, then Clarendon. For a lot of my life, I was sheltered. So in Clarendon, I got the opportunity to board up in Chapelton. So Clarendon College is in Chapelton. And believe me, I did everything that could be done. It's like I got released and I just went wild. You know? It was interesting. And after that, I moved and I went to CAST. It was CAST at the time. And by the time I reached CAST, I was more agnostic. So if God existed, he was impotent in my brain at the time. So not interested in God. By the time I left CAST, I give you the brief version. By the time I left CAST, I had a little dance hall set we used to play out at parties, and you play at dance and then you go to work the next morning, and that was my cycle.
Wow.
And one day, by this time, I had met Joan, who is now Pastor Joan, my wife. And one day we got invited to a baptism. She got invited to a baptism of her friend, and I got invited to a baptism of my friend. When we went to the church, the baptism went okay. But when the pastor came up to preach, every time he came up, he broke down in tears. He tried to do it 3 times. And the last time, the entire church broke down in tears. But this was not a tear, not crying of pain. There was a joy about it. There was something else going on. So I don't ascribe to this God thing, but I had to admit that there was something that was going on here. It didn't make rational sense. In other words, 1 and 1 don't equal 2 here. There is something else that is happening. So as a scientist, because I have a science background, I thought this is something worthwhile investigating. I want to know what is happening here, because I want to be intellectually honest. So the church had a small group system, and I went to one of their small groups. It had maybe about 15 people in it. They were studying the book of Hebrews, and I followed my friend because I wanted to know more about what was happening. And as they studied Hebrews, I know Hebrews is not for non-Christians, right? It's not for baby Christians. It's not even for baby Christians. Right? I'm there, and I'm asking every question in the book. And as I am there and asking those questions, God is convicting me, and God is starting to talk to me. So I still have my dance all set. I'm still going to dance, but I'm now in the dance, and I'm not comfortable in the dance. I am nervous. I feel like I don't belong anymore. And eventually the Lord just wear me down. And one day I said, boy, you know what happened? I need a Savior. And I knelt down in my living room and I said, God, I need you. And I cried out to the Lord. Right? Got up, never felt anything. So I was going to church by that time, and one Sunday I met with an elder, and he said, do you understand who Jesus is? And I said, yeah, man, Jesus and God is the same thing. But he really explained Jesus to me, explained him to the cross for my sin, explained sin to me. And that Sunday, I said yes to the Lord and invited him in my heart, and life just turned right around. You know, I knew I was saved, and that has just carried me on this trajectory, ending me up where I am now.
Wow, tremendous journey. What age you were, and also did you have an idea of what you wanted to be early on? You know, career path and
yes, man.
And what was that? You know,
yes, man.
Yeah.
As I said, I was a science background, so we were looking to be like a plant manager. Eventually maybe even a CEO of a plant, just somewhere, you know. So I used to work places like Separate at the time. They had Jamaica Detergents. I was working there, and then I went down to Caribbean Products. They make oils. So that was my whole life, you know. Eventually I became the production manager for a company that made hair relaxers and lotions and that kind of thing. So that was sort of my path and trajectory. But boy, I was a proper Jamaican heathen, you know, like I was a real deal. And when I got saved, I really just recognizing what God saved me from. I wanted to serve him with every fiber of my being. No, you can do that. You can do that out in the marketplace. But the more I sort of went along, is the more convicted I was about giving my life's attention to his work in a church setting. And I got saved at 32. When I was about 35 or 36, I went full-time into full-time service, and I have not looked back since.
Awesome testimony. You know, I remember hearing you saying you were an atheist.
Agnostic, and I truthfully, you know, you grew up with your mother and you have an understanding of God, but I thought if God was real, he just was not interested in humankind. There was enough suffering going on out there, and you know, or worse, he was impotent. You know, so that's why people go hobby a man and the works.
You became a transformed life and started a transformed life church.
No joke. No joke.
Awesome. I remember the days of Swallowfield. But sir, we know you have an interest in men, and I just want to initiate the conversation. I know you have a program called Mighty Men of Valor. Is that what it's called? Or Mighty Men?
Mighty
Men. You employ what is known as small group.
Yes.
I want to hear if our men are taking on to the small group phenomenon. I know you, Pastor Astor Carlisle, Pastor McAnuff Jones, and a number of others are heavily involved in small groups.
Yes.
I'm just doing a precursor because we're taking a break. It's almost 6 p.m. So I just want you to think about, are our men warming up to that? And how important to the growth of the church are those small groups, especially and specifically to our men and our boys? Because with one of the fastest growing churches in Jamaica, and I'm there on a Sunday morning. Right. So when I see what is happening, I am totally impressed with what I see. So we want you to tell us, when we come back after this break, the small group, the men's group, how important is this to the church and the church growth? Okay. We're going to take this break. It's 5:59. Well, it's now 6 p.m. in the evening. It's the Mailbox. I'm Courtney Morris, along with Kevin Bailey and our guest, Pastor Dwight Fletcher. We'll come right back after this.
Get ready, make a splash with the NWC Near Water Conservation Challenge.
Enter now for your chance to win laptops, tablets, water station, and water tank for your school or community. Here's how to dive in. Create a song, poem, dub, or skit showcasing water conservation at home or school. Submit your entries in MP4 format to Mia Jamaica at mia-water.com between July 1 and November 15, 2024. Dive in, make waves, and conserve water with NWC and Mia.
NHT contributors, get ready to home it. Saturday, October 26th, Harmony Beach Park, Montego Bay. And Saturday, November 2, Emancipation Park. Come nail down your loans from NHT and other mortgage institutions. Get shovel ready with home builder advice. Hear from technical experts and smart energy providers. Enjoy Kiddies Village and live entertainment. That's NHT Home It Expo. Saturday, October 26th, Harmony Beach Park. And Saturday, November 2, Emancipation Park. Admission is free.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance are what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Yes. Welcome back. This is the Mailbox here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on your favorite station, Love 101 FM. Kevin Bailey, Courtney Morrison here with our very special guest, Pastor Dwight Fletcher. Before the break, Courtney had asked Pastor Fletcher, how the small groups work, the contribution of men to the growth of the church. Yeah, love to hear your perspective on that. You're muted, Pastor Fletcher.
Muted, yes.
Sure.
Yes. So if you notice that men go a lot to places where they can hold a reasoning. They can sit with other men, they can sit with like-minded men and just hold a reasoning. And what we find is that small groups provides an environment like that. An environment where it is not just one person speaking, but an environment where we can discuss and talk around and about the scriptures, depending on the subject that we're dealing with. And for us, men appreciate that environment. And so they thrive in our small group systems, because it just provides that place where they have a contribution to make. This is how they see it. And we are coming to a conclusion, but they are self-discovering as they are going to that conclusion, and not sort of being told the conclusion before they discover it for themselves, So it becomes a really good environment for the men that we lead.
Wow, that's powerful. How did you arrive here? Almost 1,000 members, reaching thousands weekly. You just started, 2012?
Yes.
Yes, relatively a few years in considering things.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, Pastor Fletcher, what are some of the things responsible for this phenomenal growth in the ministry?
Right. Well, so off the bat, let's just let's just acknowledge that the Lord has been faithful, right? So we just acknowledge that up front. Early in my years, we got an opportunity to be coached by one of the world's, in my opinion, one of the world's leaders in terms of church system and church growth. A person by the name of Dr. Nelson Searcy.
Mm.
And eventually, the opportunity arose, and I used to go and just meet with him with a group of maybe 25 men for 10 years. And he coached me in an approach to church called using systems. Mm-hmm. And a system All right. So our bodies are filled with systems, circulatory system, skeletal system, etc. And when the systems are working well, the body functions without us even thinking about it. So right now we don't even count our heartbeat. We don't count how many breaths we take, right? They just work. One of the ways that Paul describes the church is as a body. So just like our bodies naturally have systems, churches have systems. And when the church has a good system, the church works well and grows. When the church systems are not good, the church doesn't grow. So sometimes the system can be good. Like when you just start out, we create systems and we don't even know it, Systems are just patterns of the way we do things. We do things this way all the time. And sometimes when you start out, the system that you use is good, but when you reach a certain point, the system no longer can take you from where you are to where you need to be. And you have to know and identify and be able to modify that system to carry it to the next level, So when we speak this way, it sounds like we're using some kind of heavy management thing. I understand. But if we read the Bible from a systems perspective, from the perspective of leadership, we recognize that it's all through the book of Acts. So for example, now, in Acts 6, this is where the church is growing. It says the church was growing, but the Grecian widows were complaining against the Hebraic widows that they were not getting food supplies. So the apostles met and said, it is not right for us to wait on tables, but to dedicate ourselves to the word and to prayer. Now, when we read that, sometimes we read only word and prayer there. But what the apostles were saying is that when we just started, we used to do all of the feeding. That was okay. But now the church has grown to a point where we can't manage that anymore. So let us change the system so that we can move up to a higher level of leadership and some other people can come and work. So it is in the text, but it's sometimes just dependent on how we read the text, If we read the text from a leadership perspective or a systems perspective, or reading it more from a priest, prophet kind of perspectives.
Wow. So persons listening now and hearing about the system and they're wondering, for example, in my local church, we only have, say, 20 persons, and we would love to be able to grow, like Transform Life. Is it possible just with 20 persons? And where do we start? What do we do, Pastor Fletcher?
It's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
When I don't know your exact situation.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way. Every year, and it's just gone the other day, every year we have a conference called Accelerate Pastors and Leaders Conference. And the mandate of that conference is to activate the Jamaican church to be growing like weeds, right? I tell people all the while, in Kingston, there are 900,000 unsaved people. Wow. If I planted 90 churches and they grew to 1,000 people each, that is just 90,000, 10%. We are not in competition. We want to change this nation, and we have to do it and save souls. Every church needs to grow. So out of the conference, we also do coaching. We coach people. And we coach a set of people for 1 year. And a number of them, one lady came and said she grew by 80%.
Wow.
She was 45. Now she's something like 80. And in some cases, she's 100. Some days she's 100. So now she has grown by 80-something% and growing. So we want to empower people. We have myself and my co-founder, Apostle Rowan Earl. He lives in the US. We have a saying, we want to learn and return. The Bible says, freely have received, freely give.
Yeah.
But we want to give as much as we want because we want the Jamaican church to be empowered. Now, back to what you're saying. Sometimes you have to now look at your systems, right? How do you do evangelism? Three systems I'd look at. I'd look at how do I do evangelism? How do I welcome people and retain them? What do I do to make them come back the next Sunday, right? And the third system I would look at is how do I organize my welcome, my worship, and my word, right? So when somebody enters through your door, they enter and there are three things that they're going to notice. They're going to notice your welcome. I spoke to our pastor the other day after we taught him some stuff, and he says he recognized that his greatest problem is his ushers.
Oh.
Because the usher has to treat you that way, you know.
Yes.
It's memorable. When you leave that place, you must say, they were so good to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back there the next Sunday. Right? Then you have the worship. How do you experience the worship? Is the worship relevant? Is the music good? Are the songs relevant to the people who you are trying to reach? Right? And then the word, is the word applicable? When I leave the church, can I apply it to my life and see changes in my life? So anyway, yeah, let me pause because I think
awesome. You know, greeters, ushers, it's our first impression can be a very lasting impression.
If impression is not good, we
have heard the complaints as pastors over the years, you know. Tamara Bryan says, good evening to all. The man them bless. Valerie Brown says, good evening. It's good to have you, Valerie. Thanks for chiming in. Pastor Fletcher, so you have experienced this phenomenal church growth. When we look in so many churches, we're seeing more 80% female population to a 20% male population. What can we do to change that? Should it be changed, or is it just this time and the season?
No, man. It should be changed, man. It must be changed. Now, remember that Feltow at one time, I think, had like 45% men. Yes. I remember of it. And they had a strong sports program. So the truth is that we have to start to apply programs. I don't like the word program, but let's use it. We have to apply programs that will attract men, right? Men are into sports, so sports works. I was talking one time to Reverend Carla Dunbar, and she's a woman, but she has a domino competition that used to run in her church, and she has a high percentage of men. So we have to be very creative and do the things that men like, and use that as a mechanism to attract them, you know.
Oh.
And another thing is we have to make sure that our church doesn't feel female.
And somebody would say, how does that feel, Pastor?
What does that look like? Yes.
when sometimes the songs they sing and the words of the song. Draw me close to you, never let me go. Those songs there have a little connotation of you know, feminine as compared to, let me see now, as compared to other songs, and I can't think of
a warrior
equivalent right now.
We're just about up to another break, but a consideration is it easy as a pastor? These years of being in the trenches, what are some of the challenges you face and how do you overcome them? when we come back from the break, when I ask you to address that, Pastor Dwight Fletcher is our very special guest. Kevin Bailey, Courtney Morrison in the place. We go to the studio, then we'll be right back after this.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you'll have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, carry me.
Welcome back to the program. It's the Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison along with Kevin Bailey and our special guest, Pastor Dwight Fletcher. We're talking about church growth. And indeed, the Mailbox is brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. Before we went for the break, we were talking about the church feeling female and what that looks like and what that feels like. And you also mentioned before programs like the football ministries that affected the men, strong sporting creative activities that affect the men. How do we change that feminine look and all them things, you know? Does it need changing? You know, I'm trying to be as objective and as fair as I think I can be by asking the question that way. Right. Kevin, have I encapsulated your question in fullest?
No, we would love that, Pastor Fletcher, to give final perspective on that, and then to look at the challenges that he has faced over the years, the difficulties, because some people think it's easy. Some people say, oh gosh, they think it's overnight success. But what are those challenges, difficulties, adversities, and how you're able to overcome them? So we kind of twin up everything there.
Okay. The thing about we have to define what we mean by a male, not a male welcoming church. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. A church that welcomes male, and there are a lot of things that would represent that. The pastor represents that. How the pastor speaks represents that. Who the pastor speaks to. So we involve men a lot in our illustrations. We involve the themes that men can relate to a lot. Let's put it this way. The women will be happy when men come in, right? So and they understand when we talk in a male way, they understand. But when we talk female, the men sort of may feel a little left out. So we tend to skew, even though advertisement, we tend to use men on it instead of women. So we just try to make the men feel more celebrated, right? In our midst. So moving on to your question now about
Challenges,
just the challenge,
difficulties. Yeah.
right? Finances is always a challenge, no matter how you cut the slice, right? And one of the things you have to do is, as people become more committed to your church, is teach them that the truth is that finances is part of their discipleship. It's part of growing up in the Lord. The Bible tells us clearly that where your treasure is, your heart is also. It is not where your heart is, your treasure follows. Where your treasure goes, your heart follows, right? The scripture tells you that the tithe is to teach you to put God first in your life. So for the Lord, your money is part of your discipleship. Your money is part, and we have to help people to understand that without trying to be excessive. We're not talking about any of those kinds of things. But the truth is that the church is congregationally, the contributions should come from the congregation. Paul says, if we shared spiritual seed with you, is it too much for you to share a material harvest with us? So therefore, that's one of the challenges. Another challenge that we have just generally is in the realm of just emotional health in church. We don't talk about emotion. Well, my experience of it is that sometimes we don't talk about emotions, but you cannot be spiritually mature if you're not emotionally mature.
Yeah.
If you're not growing emotionally mature, you cannot be spiritually mature. So sometimes you can have persons who have been around church for a long time, but when you see how they deal with interpersonal issues, see how they deal with their family, you can recognize that there are some things emotionally that are challenged, right? The way how they can lead in church can be affected by their emotional growth too. So we spend a lot of time on that area, right? We spend a lot of time just talking about ourselves emotionally, talking about how do we create and maintain proper friendships, right? Because those things go towards rounding off the person and a better Christian. Because and it gets rid of a lot of sometimes challenges that would get in the way, right, of a church just flowing in more unity and pulling together for the accomplishment of a particular goal. One of the, not personally from a church perspective, but I believe that as churches together, we need to just be in a stronger sense of unity. I think the display of churches together united to the community is a stronger display than churches divided. If I in my little silo and you in yours, right, it is not a stronger display of Christ's love and his unity as us together, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed. You know, that is so vital. And a part of an organization, a Christian organization that Kevin and I were part of, exists in a community. And if you find that you are not ministering to the community you are in, the very community can turn on you based on their expectations of what you should be providing.
Yeah.
Pastor Fletcher, those challenges are real and sometimes they can become debilitating.
Yeah.
How do we, and because we just have a couple of minutes, about 3 more minutes, how do we not only do the talking, your church have been doing the walking, I can tell, and implement these successfully? You spoke about systems. What else is there? What final thing can you tell us to ensure that, or to at least propose to others how to go about it? I know your Accelerate program does that, but tell us a bit.
Well, I'm going to go on that angle that maybe you have to create a leadership ladder.
Yes.
You have to create a leadership ladder. Everything is about leadership, right? So some of the issues that we're having in implementing certain things has nothing to do with the thing itself. It has to do with the leadership behind it. So sometimes we have good leaders, and we need to find a way how to continuously create that stream of leaders so that we can get more leaders, so the work can be divided. You know, sometimes you have a strong leader, but now the leader is juggling 10 balls, and they are skilled up to 3.
Yes.
Is 3 leaders juggling 3 balls, right? And that leadership system, every leader should have somebody with them who they are raising up to become a leader, somebody who they are pouring into to become a leader. Because it, you know, the adage that everybody in the world knows, everything rises on leadership.
Wow. A minute or so, are there differences between how young men are viewed in society versus young girls? And how does that relate to church growth and development from your experience? What would you say?
Right. One of the challenges we have is just our society in general, right? From earlier, the men are treated very differently than women. The woman is usually, if a single mother has a girl and a boy, the girl is kept in the house and taught leadership, as simple as you look, you know. She's taught how to keep the house clean. She's taught how to shop. She's taught some disciplines. Usually, for many cases, the boy is allowed to just do anything he wants. So right away, we're not doing him any service, right? So when it comes around our time for him to grow and have a family and take up responsibility, it is unfamiliar territory for many of our men, right? We want them to be something at the end that we have not trained them at the beginning to be. And that is what we need. We definitely have to change that, right? Because, look here, the women need men. They need men who understand life and knows how to manage their families and their circumstance well.
Awesome. How do people get in touch with you? How do persons who are listening get in touch with you for information?
We have our telephone numbers, of course, 631-9204 or 8. We have our website, hetransforms.me, right? And we have our Facebook and YouTube handles, etc. So, and it's all hetransforms.me or he transforms me for like Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor Dwight Fletcher. Really appreciate you being with us. Time flies when we're having this good conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Want to say thanks to Dr. Nadine Blair, Operations Programs Manager, Jermaine Johnson, our producer, Timoy Butler for technical support. And again, thanks to our very special guest, Reverend Dwight Fletcher of Transform Life Church. We end the show with this quote: "For your church to grow, you must be nice to people when they show up." Rick Warren.
Ushers and greeters hear that. This was the program designed for men with Guess Who Are Men. The mailbox was brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited.
Catch you next week, Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, with Mr. Ade Brown. Same place, same time. We're going to look at ADHD and men. So, what we say?
Monday. Blessings.
Thanks, Rev.
Strong man, integrity man, I am a man. Man, I am a man.